And so you have this very gross inversion of reality in the times in which we live. One of the things, interesting things about this time is the illusion, in fact, of the time in which we live, even the illusion of power. Allah says that in the Quran, مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ أَوْلِيَاءَ كَمَثَلِ الْعَنكَبُوتِ اتَّخَذَتْ بَيْتًا وَإِنَّ أَوْهَنَ الْبُيُوتِ لَبَيْتُ الْعَنكَبُوتِ لَوْ كَانُوا يَعْلَمُونَ. The example of those who take allies other than Allah is like the example of a spider when she builds a house. And the weakest and most frail of all houses, all homes, is the house of the spider. لَوْ كَانُوا يَعْلَمُونَ, if they but knew. In the 1970s, I think, in the Battle of Iwo Jima, this was a very famous battle, and there's a lot of illusion to do with this, even in the most, in the kind of typography that everyone knows. Everyone has seen that image of those American soldiers placing that. You've seen everyone that, right? They're in a circle, and they're on a mound, and they're all kind of planting the American flag. And even in the image, there is a deception. If you read Chris Hedges' book, and he, of course, has been a war journalist for 15 years. War is a force that gives us meaning. In that whole episode, there was death and there was blood everywhere. But the photographer caught such an idyllic image that was later used as propaganda through and through, so much so that there was an American movie that starred John Wayne. John Wayne was the victor. In fact, John Wayne, when the injured Marines were stationed in a hospital in Hawaii, John Wayne went to see them. And you would imagine, like, sometimes celebrities go and they see sick children or whatever. Here you have injured soldiers in the Battle of Iwo Jima stationed in Hawaii, and here you have John Wayne who has come to see them, and he has all the media glare. He has the news. He has the media reports. He has the cameras and everything. And when he enters the hospital and they see him, he was wearing a cowboy outfit, a cowboy costume with a plastic pistol, right? And when they saw that, they jeered and they hissed and they booed, right? And they couldn't understand how could people hiss and boo and jeer at John Wayne, because they understood the deception in this. They understood the deception. Here is a man who is going to make millions out of us, and here we are lying in hospital, we've lost our limbs, and we get nothing. Right? And this, of course, is how things are. This is on the one hand. On the other hand is the whole problem, again, to reiterate, the problem is the image. Look, when Israelis, may Allah give them a punishment that they will never forget, but when they committed their assault on Gaza in 2008, the world was confronted with an image. We saw a blitz that we've never seen before, perhaps. And the Arab world, and we all saw that. We saw bombs dropping every single day. It happened so fast. We saw white phosphorus in the skies. We saw all of this. In essence, this is shock and awe. This has a very entertaining effect. For people who are so used to and have been brought up on Hollywood movies, they've seen this. But they've seen it in the Hollywood stage, right? They've seen that. You've seen things blowing up and destruction and lights and this and that. You've seen it all on Hollywood. The average American or Western or Catholic individual who has no sense of, why are they fighting or what are they fighting for? And these are human beings. People have lost that, even the thinking. He sees that simply as that is entertaining. All right, that is actually awesome. It looks so amazing. It looks amazing that bombs are dropping here and there, this and that. There's no sense of, this is why a very good book to read, honestly, for everyone, we should read, written by a non-Muslim, Judith Butler, in her book, Precarious Life. She describes Muslim suffering. She's a non-Muslim, right? And she speaks about the whole selectivity in depictions of suffering. For example, now they're attacking Gaddafi. They're taking their drones and they're trying to fire upon pro-Gaddafi supporters, right? And Gaddafi's military installations. When they want to show you why they're doing that, they're going to show you the suffering of the Libyan people. They're going to show you. They're going to say, see, this is why we're doing it. Look at these people. Do you think we should help these people? Look at them. Look at them. This person's starving, that person's cradling his baby, that woman's lost her husband. Look at them. That person at a graveside because his dad just died. They'll show you the suffering face to face. You will have a deep sense of connection because they will take their camera crews on the floor and they'll show you. When America is guilty always of its crimes against humanity, of its crimes against the Muslims, and it kills and it slaughters and it's a terrible mess it's created, you will never see a close-up image. You'll always see an image from very, very high up. You'd only see the small ant-like bodies on the floor, and then of course it's very, very bad that happened, right? You will never see close-up human suffering because it goes against the pro-war narrative that America is trying to spell out for the world. It goes against that narrative. Because if people were to question and think, how could we do something like that? They'll question, of course, the whole reasoning and rationale behind the war. But you don't find that. And this is why you have a selective mourning. Judith Butler, she points out, for example, if an Israeli is killed in Palestine, all of it occupied Palestine, right? But if an Israeli is killed there, and the American Jews wanted to write up an obituary, a tribute in an American paper, they'd be given permission. Of course you can. This is a very sad thing for any Israeli to be killed. But if a Palestinian, she has records of this, if a Palestinian wanted to write a tribute for a Palestinian Muslim who has been killed because of Israeli aggression, that's going to offend everyone. Right? That's so offensive. That's too offensive for us, because if we publish that, and of course the Israeli Jews, American Jews are going to ring up and complain, this is too offensive to everyone, so if the world decide not to publish it. It's a selective process of mourning. You know, Seamus Heaney, the Irish poet, wrote a poem about this, a very long poem called The Burial at Thebes. And for everyone who's interested in poetry, in the poem he draws on these kind of things. It's all about selective mourning. There are some people we're allowed to mourn for, there are others we are not allowed to mourn for. There are some that the media will direct our attention to. If an Israeli soldier is killed on Muslim land, of course it's occupied Palestine, then you'd learn everything about it. No one forgets the name Gilad Shalit, right? No one will forget that name because his name is always on the news, Gilad Shalit. In fact, you know so much about him. You will see that Israeli soldier, you'll see his funeral if he is killed. You would go to his funeral on the camera and you'll see his funeral. You'll see the wreath being placed on his grave. You'll see his mother weeping tears for him. You would know exactly his name, you'd know his date of birth, you'd know where he was going, where he's coming from, you'd know his dreams and ambitions and hopes in life. You'd learn all about him. Why? Because from the perspective of these people, that person is a human being that deserves this kind of attention. If a Muslim is killed, you don't even know his name. You don't even know the name of his parents. You've never seen his funeral. You've never seen his mother crying. You don't know how old this. If these are my brothers and sisters, I want to know about my sister. I want to know about my brother. I want to know how old was my brother when my brother was killed. I want to know how old was my sister when my sister was killed. When these tanks drew over my father's car, I want to know where was my father. I want to know about my brothers and sisters. If we really believe كل مسلم على المسلم حرام دمه وماله وعرضه, in the hadith in Sahih Muslim, every Muslim to another Muslim is sacred. Like Masjid al-Haram is sanctified, his blood is sacred, his wealth is sacred, and his honor is sacred. Then I would want to know, look how the Jews are able to humanize the whole experience of the Holocaust. And I'm not saying, I think it's a terrible crime, a terrible tragedy inflicted against people, however the numbers are, however they look. That is not our debate. But the issue is, if you simply read accounts, and you will see there were children. If you read the accounts of Philip Muller in his eyewitness Auschwitz, if you read the accounts of Alicia in her story, or even Anne Frank, you will see people, this was a human suffering, this was a difficulty that they underwent. And of course Allah does things for a reason. But everyone can connect with that. School children read those books. Everyone hears the stories because they're everywhere.